Hey, fellow traders. Got a special treat in store today for the video that I'm making. I'm going to get back to the way I originally started trading when I first started. That's with the 1 minute chart. I've got a few extra things included from experience that I've learned over time. And right now, I'm going to do a little bit of live trading the way I really love to trade. Uh, if you're just now finding the channel, welcome. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video if you find any value. And just keep up with all the new videos that I'm going to be releasing. The plan coming forward is I'm going to attempt to make another challenge, but first I want to prepare for it. I want to see what I can do with some of the new ideas that I've learned over the last couple of years, basically just fighting with the stop loss. Now, the way I'm going to explain this, it may cause a few questions. Just give me a little bit of time to explain everything through, and then it'll make a lot more sense. Uh, I've already got in and made a new kind of updated calculator just to handle this specific type of trading. I'll leave a link for that down below, as well as some other useful links for you. So make sure you check out that description before you go. Now, this is going to be an all-inclusive starter video from setup, the explanation of why I have the charts, the explanation of probably the first question you have is why do I have prices covered up, and so on and so forth. Right here is where I started to do a little bit of testing just in this little area to try to see how everything would work, and I just kind of got excited, so we're going to go ahead and do some forward testing of the video. So first, let's go ahead and say thank you very much to all those who've been supporting the channel and welcome back. I'm sure you're probably interested in this as well. I know a lot of traders didn't find my risk system to be a good method. It does have its issues, especially when you have an extreme losing streak, and it's really difficult to work with it on scalping sometimes. It does apply to that 15-minute strategy, which I'm going to explain a little bit more in this because I've learned a little bit more about that over the last couple of weeks of basically just running iteration after iteration of strategy variations and different things. So we'll get into that more too later on. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the challenge that I'm going to prepare for. I'm going to go for the 10,000 instant funding. This is a single phase evaluation. I'll leave a link for this as well below if you want to check that out and grab one for yourself. But to start with, we're going to be evaluating with $5,000 in a demo account. We have to reach a 10% profit target. So this one's going to be a little bit more difficult, but with the numbers, you kind of prove that you know what you're doing a little bit. So if this is a little bit steep for you, you could also check out the high stakes. A little update on the last one. I made a boo-boo and placed a limit order when there was a news event coming out. I was a little bit too close and was terminated. So, oops. It was not a good idea to change the risk structure a little bit just to try to account for the losses. That also is not really a good idea with these challenges. Basically, the way they explain it to me when I checked with it is the way you start, the way you make your first few trades is the way you have to make every single following trade from start to finish. They also look for these same strategies, same application once you do get funded. So if you're using, different little methods and then you just start swapping around once you do get funding, that could cause some issues. So just keep that in mind once you pass. And just double check those rules. They always leave a link to that down below. But let's get back into what I'm going to be trying for. I'm going to run a few test runs of this to prep for it. But our stop out level, which means we're going to get terminated, is if we lose 6% of our capital. That'll be an ending balance of $4,700. Our daily pause rate is $150, so we're not allowed to lose more than $150 in a single day, so 3%. And then we have a 1 to 30 leverage. So those are all the numbers that I'm going to need, and let's go ahead and hop into the new calculator. It's basically the old calculator, but I've revised it, simplified it. This is all of the information that we need. all the information that you're going to need to operate is right over here on the left. All the information is on the right. And then this is just useful information to know for the pair. It's also used in calculations. Everything that is in color is recommended not to edit. It should be locked, but these all contain formulas. They work out what's going on. It tells you some various information. But let's go ahead and start from the top left like a book, and we'll go ahead and go through the settings. So for that challenge account, it will be a USD account. There's going to be a 1 to 30 leverage. It will be a $4 commission round trip. I know this from a couple of challenges I've tried before, and they do apply that on the open. I'm going to be focused on the Euro USD. This is my primary pair, and that is the main reason why I'm covering the price, because I've kind of been focused on this pair since the beginning. It was off and on the first few months, but then I just basically went to it, fell in love with it. I love the way it moves, especially on the 1 minute. So I stick with that pair. But with the strategy that I use, it doesn't require any kind of knowledge of price at all. We're just trading what we see. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but that should answer the question as to why the prices are covered up. And the precision is already set. It's a 5 decimal precision, so we're good to go with that. Now we're going to be starting with that $5,000 balance on the challenge. So that's what we're going to have to evaluate with. That's what we're going to run this account with. I'm not really too worried about size in general. It's all percentage based in the end. But we're going to start with 5,000, and we haven't opened a trade or anything at all in this account for testing. So the stats are set to 0. We're going to do a fresh run of this strategy, and we're going to start with 5,000 there. Now, to get into the risk structure. Now, one thing I've kind of run into an issue a lot here, especially, and I've really been heavily looking at it through a microscope, looking at tick charts and just candlestick patterns. I've come up with a pretty solid setup that's actually made in the 15-minute strategy. We'll get a little bit deeper into that in just a minute before we place our first trade. But one thing I've run into is trying to get that really tight stop to get a high R ratio. Well, the way we're going to be scalping this way, there is no R ratio. We are not worried about R ratio at all. All we are worried about is our risk amount and trying to control the actual loss. So we'll get into that too as well after we get into the strategy. But the way we're going to set up our risk is we're going to set an emergency stop loss. We're not going to set a 3, 4, 8 pip, 4 pip, 12 point, whatever. We're not going for these razor thin stops. The only reason is because I'm sure you've probably run into it very often where price will just barely tap your order, knock you out of the trade, and then go exactly where you thought it was going to go. And you probably run into this 900,000 times already. So the way we're going to solve that problem is we're going to basically determine when we want to exit our trade. It's kind of similar to trading without a stop loss, which is the preferred way to scalp, especially when you're trying to control those losses. So what this is going to allow us to do is by leaving a really wide stop, of course, we're going to have an emergency safety net in case it just rips away all of a sudden. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to observe the price action, observe the market. We're going to take our entry wherever we see fit. And then if we are going to wait for the market to definitely prove us wrong, and then we're going to wait or try to catch some kind of pullback. We're going to basically try to get the best losing price possible. So we're going to control our losses much tighter and with much more consistency than a stop loss ever could. So we're going to show you how that works. But first I'm going to go ahead and first determine the risk. The way I determined the risk when I started playing around with this idea, I was using 1.5% risk. And on the euro, I'm using about a half of a full day. I'm using 40 pips for the stop. We're going to be trading on the 1 minute. We're probably never even going to get anywhere close to that. And I've added a couple of things now on the calculator. I've went ahead and all you have to do is set up your risk amount. It will automatically calculate what you need to use when you're going to scalp with that rate. But first, let's take a look at the other variables. We're going to take a look at our stop out level and our pause level. I do not care about a valuation target at all, but it is 5,500. But all I care about is that stop out level and daily pause, and then we're going to worry about the gain loss by percent every day. So right now I've gone ahead and set that up. We start with the 5,000. Our daily stop out is 3%. Our daily pause, daily stop out is 3%. So that is put in here. And I've already calculated out the termination balance, but one way you could do that with the calculator is we see that 6% for the total termination. So we just type in 6. That will tell us right there the max loss is 4,700. We just type that in there. So I'll change that back to 3% for our daily stop out. So that means we're allowed to lose $150 a day. And if we reach that loss limit today, our new account balance will be $48.50. So we'll be $150 in the hole. And this we'll worry about later on, the gain loss part. This is basically how we're going to evaluate the performance of a day of trading or a session of trading. So we'll leave that set. I've already set it to the starting balance. Now taking a look at the next column, this will be the worst case scenario if the emergency stop gets hit. So we're going to max out at $75 of risk. That is 1.5% of that max daily stop out limit. And the reason being is, in that way, if we get it wrong severely one time, we're still not completely knocked out. So that will give us 2 shots of hitting that safety net. And if we do hit that safety net twice, we're in trouble because we're not doing something right. So the best size we can use, including that commission, will be a 0.18. We're going to be risking 72.72, which will give us a stop out risk of 1.45%. Excuse me. Now, we don't have a distance to break even right now, but the other thing that I added is the pit value. I had this in the HC1 Abacus, and some people seem a little confused by this, so I'll go ahead and spend just a moment explaining this. Basically, with this size of a position, every time the price moves up 1 pip or down 1 pip, our balance, our equity will change by $1.80 for each pip. So if the price goes up 10 pips, we will make $18. If it goes up 0.1 pip or 1 point, it will be 18 cents. So that's how much, every time price moves, that's how much it's going to change the equity in your account. Now the size of this lot size that we're going to be using, that is going to cost us 72 cents for every time we open the position. And I've converted this to a price in points, so this way we know as long as price is 0.4 pips or 4 points above our entry, then we can close it and the trade will be $0. It will be no loss, no gain. So that will be our break-even point for the entry. And we're using 1 to 30 on the leverage, but we have $5,000, so margin is not going to be an issue in this case. I'm not even really worried about it, but it is good to know. Now, if we do hit that emergency stop, we'll end at 49.27.28, and there's that drawdown number again. Now just covering this little area right here. So the current price of the Euro USD, this is showing the closing price. We're not going to really concern ourselves with that, but that does calculate all of these numbers out here. Your margin, we're looking at if we open the full position of one lot, it's $3,602.17. And because it's a USD account and we have a USD quote, our pit value is automatically 10. So that will give us $10 per pip. That's what, going back to that pip value. So now that I've explained the calculator, we're looking at a 0.18 with a 40 pip stop. And emergency stop, we'll start calling it that. And I'll actually probably update this real quick. Let's go ahead and hop back into the tester. Now I've kind of changed some setups around. I've got 3 charts set up. I've got a clean project started. We've got a 0 stat, $5,000 in the balance. We've got a tick chart, a 1-minute chart, a 5-minute chart, and a 15-minute chart. And this little widget here is actually one nifty little tool that's included with Forex Tester 6. The testing software that I'm using is called the Forex Speedup. That gives us a one-click trading setup. We don't need to change the balance or anything, and I'm not going to too much worry about this. One other thing that I'll go ahead and point out that may be helpful in just a minute is we can also create a Renko chart. We will probably be best putting this in about a 5 point, or should we go 5 pip? Let's do 10 pips. Everything that is set up in here is based on points. But one thing I'm going to point out real quick is the Renko chart. I know a lot of times I'm doing support and resistance. So this will be good for pointing out levels. We'll get into that in just a second. But let me go ahead and get into one more thing. We'll double check our setup, make sure that we are good to go with all of our challenge. Using the advanced data, I know there is a 0 spread, so I've already started the project without using any floating spread. Occasionally it'll get a wide blip, but it doesn't really happen with this challenge. Everything is a razor 0, no cost other than commissions. So that is set up, apply when we open. The average swap and long and short is set up. I'll use the average of what I was seeing before when I had the account prior. I'm going to go ahead and set a 2 pip minimum distance to price, because that's how the account was operating. 0 spread, but because we're not using a stop or anything, that's going to be right up on price. We don't need to really worry about that. We are the stop. Our eyeballs are the stop. So with this strategy, you just want to definitely make sure that you are okay and comfortable with closing a trade. So that's going to be very important. But that is the whole purpose of why we're going to do what we're doing. I'll get into that just a little bit deeper here in a moment. But let's go ahead and start looking at our setup. So we've got our prices. The main reason we want to keep these set up here is because of just simply, there we go, that'll work. No, it won't. Is just simply because we want to keep an idea of what we've got going on, where we are in the nature of price, and just so we don't get too zoomed in while we're dealing with the 1-minute chart, because a lot of times you'll have a tendency to get into that 1-minute chart and just stay way over focused. I'm not really heavily into indicators, but I do prefer one indicator, and that's the RSI. I've got an 80 level, a 20 level, and a 50 level. This is more or less just a reference. I don't really take any trades on it or look to really rely on it at any bit, but I do keep general rules in mind about this. It's set to the default 14 close. Like I say, it's not really, it's kind of eye candy, but it does still kind of give a good bit of information that you can kind of use for the next few minutes. It'll basically make you accurate for about 5 minutes. So just keep that in mind when you're reading that, and I'll kind of point things out as we're going along, because I'm actually going to play everything at real-time speed, and we're going to actually take several trades while doing this, and I'm going to walk through everything as it's going. So just a moment. The main reason I'm sharing my main screen is because I have a second ticker right here, and I'm going to synchronize the chart to the time. And one reason I'm going to do that is one thing people talk about with backtesting is time of day. So I am normally getting out of my evening busyness at around 1:30, 2 o'clock most of the time. So I am generally ready to go for the London Open. So that's where we're going to start here. So let me get this going in the right direction. I'll go ahead and get it ahead for us a little bit. Let me see, it is 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So we need 13 hours. Change this to the hourly. And I've preloaded just a little bit of data. Don't really need to know the price because I'm probably going to be familiar with it, but like I say, we don't really need the price. And we're going, as I'm lining this up, I'll go ahead and start talking about the first initial setup. And usually I do prefer to use the hourly chart. And apologies for being out of order, but this is where a Renko bar chart can come in handy. Give me just a second. That would be 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we go. That would be the end of the day. We're not going to need to worry about it too far ahead like that. 13. Where is that at? There it is. Okay. Apologies for that. And okay. So what I generally will like to do. There we go. I can't go back. Okay. Went probably a little too far. I can always skip ahead a day. It doesn't matter. What time is it there? Okay, so that would be right around an hour into the London session. So what we're going to do is set up our chart based on the hourly. I'm going to jump to the next day. I'm not happy with that at all. We're going to jump ahead one day. I'm going to set this up again and we'll try to get the time correct. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 1. Okay. Now, vertical line. So we need one more. There we go. Okay, so now we should be set up and ready to go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm gonna remove these lines, that line real quick, that line, and when you're opening up a fresh chart for the day, it's a good idea to really kind of start at a higher time frame. I know I've kind of covered a few videos about discretionary trading. I'm going to get a few more out. But like I said, I was just so ready to share this. I wanted to go ahead and get it out. But the first thing you're going to take a look at is kind of the previous day's high and low, the kind of general action of the price right now for the hourly. If we take a look just at the last few days, I don't like to look too far back because generally the world has changed since that point, so I don't rely on it too far. Most of what I'm looking at is the most recent action. So the first thing I'm really kind of spotting, like I say, we'll go ahead and plot these on here. We've got a major level there where price seems to be heading to. We have our previous lows and close of yesterday, which it looks like it kind of faked to break that, which is something the euro likes to do. It likes to go the wrong way first and then head back the opposite way. This is one of the pair-specific behaviors about the euro, and one of the things you'll learn by sticking with just one pair. And once we start getting into the trading, you'll not really need to worry about any more than one pair. So right now we have that area going on. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this and kind of make a discretionary call. That right there to me looks to be a critical level of support. We have the breakout, the flag pattern, and then now it's starting to run away. So right now on the overall time frame, we are potentially looking at a liquidity grab, because generally another pair specific behavior about the euro is it loves to grab liquidity and make stop hunt runs, or whichever way you want to call it, around the London Open. So we are primed and ready to catch it at the top and go down. Notice when we were looking yesterday, it kind of faked out and then pushed up. So it grabbed the liquidity at the London Open, then it faked right back around at the New York, and let's see if we have that. I may not have that timing right, but typically that's the way it likes to go. And we are ready to go. So yep. All right. So we should be pretty close to synchronized. So right now, I'm not sure if we've got, I think that's right. That's 13 bars. We're about an hour early. But let's just say I got out and finished with what I was doing a little bit early. So we'll be good to go. So now that we have that going, we notice price is moving pretty quick. One thing I'm going to go ahead and set up here soon is a news stopper, something I just learned my lesson about. And I'll get into a little bit lower time frame chart for that. But now I'm going to move down to the 15. I don't really worry about the M30 too much. The thing about the M15 is this is about basically that point where you have basically your accuracy rate of an indicator versus your time frame is, once you hit, like, we'll say, like, this is a 15-minute mark, this is the 30-minute mark, this is the hourly mark, this is the 4-hour mark, and so on and so forth. Well, once you get into like the 10-minute chart, the 5-minute chart, so on and so forth, that is when your accuracy really starts to fall. So this is why I don't really consider indicators to be much use, other than looking at a higher time frame, other than a couple of little indicators here and there. Some people do prefer to use the stochastic and ADX to try to pick up on actual momentum and so on. But let's say the higher up you go, the more accurate you go. But the longer on you go, that's the longer your time frame is going. Your 1 minute, most are going to be here. Most of your accuracy is going to be here. And then once you reach the 15-minute, you're going to be at about 40 to 50% accuracy rate. 30-minute, you're going to be at around the 80%. And then by the time you reach an hour, that's when you finally reach that 100% level. So this right here would be your hourly. And that would be when your indicators are going to be the strongest. This would be like your 4-hour, your daily. This might be your 15-minute or so, your 15-minute, your hourly, your 4-hour, your daily, your weekly, and basically it's going to still remain flat at that high rate all the way through there. So you can also check this on your robot strategies. A lot of times once you get below the 30-minute or 15-minute, their accuracy is going to be very hard to improve. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at your indicators. Another thing a lot of people like to use with scalping is indicators. Just remember that each one has a purpose. So each one has their drawbacks, their limitations. Some are meant to predict, some are not. Uh, some are meant to tell you more about what has happened, to give you another little idea. So each one is going to be to their own. So if you do have a preferred indicator set or setup that you are familiar with, I would recommend using it. Although, like I say, I wouldn't give too many things merit, but you may also have your own ideas about that. So use whichever setup works best for you. I'll say with that. So let me do something with this a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into one of the strongest setups that you can use. And I'm going to call this out to be the strongest on the 15-minute chart. That's basically going to be this little pattern right here that I am trying to kind of point out here. So let me see if I can get this moved in the right direction. This right here. So this is one setup, and what I have the white box around, that's another setup. So basically what we're looking at in this pattern is there's these two types of setups. Is you're basically looking for some type of support. So that support is going to carry through. So basically what you're doing is you're looking for price to come back to it and then reject off of it. A lot of times it will not go past the top. Wrong one, there we go. A lot of times when price comes back, like say if it was to make a retracement from there, oftentimes it will not come past the halfway point of the closes. So if you look at this top close versus this bottom open and close here, where we're considering this to be a level, a lot of times it will hit that level and continue down, or it will actually make its way up to where, let me get that back where it was. It will come up to about halfway and then come down. If it does go up higher, oftentimes it will retest the other side and then continue up. But we don't want to immediately just jump around in our position just because it did that. It's about a 20-30% chance it is a direct violation, but that would be considered a violation of that setup. But one thing you have to also keep in mind is the context of the market. But just make sure you're paying attention and looking for this. This is often the strongest off the 15 due to that accuracy description we just talked about. Going to leave that level directly on that wick. The main reason I'm doing that is oftentimes that is a very strong amount of orders, and because that's in a 15-minute time frame with that type of a wick and pin bar, that usually indicates a very strong sell presence and bearish presence from that point. And then another thing that actually is wonderful about this little pattern here is it's typically set up for what you would consider a supply and demand pattern. So oftentimes you'll have something like that. So you would consider that a zone, and that would be pretty much the same setup. So I would be looking for those off of the 15, and that's one of the primary reasons why that works off of that strategy. And even though it's not directly looking like that, this right here is pretty much the same thing. That would be considered a large amount of orders, a demand area. You could even include the entire price of the group or go by the close. It did violate a little bit there, but you can see it drove that price down and now is holding below. There's a lot of activity going on in that little area. Volatility in the tick chart that I have set up. So that's looking at each individual tick. These are not real ticks. These are randomly generated, but these are accurate 1 minute bars, and that's about the lowest I can get it to go. But we'll talk about using that tick chart here in a little bit. It does look like it's about to break up and go through the resistance. But we'll see what's going on. We'll see if it reaches that level or if it stays through here. So while we're setting up our different areas, we'll consider that as a point of interest. So keep in mind that right now, because that was yesterday's data, I'm just going to consider that a watch zone. I'm not going to actually take much aggression in that area because it's old. The main one that I'm looking at is going to be right here. So that is kind of that setup a little bit. It tried to go down, break, and come back. So I'm going to look for some type of retest in this little area here. The main thing though is I'm going to look at only this one candle for that, because that is a micro level, and once we zoom in I'll kind of show and point that out. I'll leave that white line there, that's fine, don't really need that. So we're good to go there, and I'll change this color a little bit to get the attention. I'll make it yellow. Okay, now that's going to be one place of attention to look at. So now that we're looking at our overall, and we already know that just based on a general area, we're right now ranging at this point in time. We're not really looking to make any extreme or strong moves. We did get the fake out, but we do also have another extreme bottom level down here on that wick, and we've also got another level that's kind of extreme here. That kind of looks a little bit better to line up with more recent. And then I will adjust that to go to that level there a little bit more. Okay. So now we're kind of trading within this range. We know the market is consolidating and ranging over time. But now one thing to also note, if you checked out the videos from before, notice that we kind of came up and we are kind of staying flat. And now depending on what happens here, I might expect price to start kind of rolling down a little bit. So that is kind of what I'm assessing just from this little area. Uh-oh. That's okay, I don't need that anymore. We found the starting point, we're good to go. So we know that that is the general look. I know we also have overall price consolidation. Let's take a big look, big picture view of it. So that's more of a large area of consolidation. So that's also probably another level we can go ahead and point out. Where do I want to put it? That was one, that was one. I'll put it right there. Okay. Go back, zoomed in just a little bit more. Alright, we got our outside views. We know we're ranging, and I'm going to try to attempt to catch some trades in the range. So we're kind of going to use that setup primarily, but I'm also going to look at overall momentum. Like, for example, you notice this was a very sharp move, short retest. We have that level there. Put that right there, a little adjustment. Maybe, yeah, do that right there. So that gives us our lower part of the range. I'm sure that's going to line up in the 5 minute. So now we have our top-down view. Look a little bit at the momentum. We got a nice little fake out right here. I want to zoom in. I want to give you a little golden nugget right here. I don't know if that's exactly the best example of it, though. We'll probably run into something like this. This will actually be something to keep in mind, though. Whenever you're seeing a pattern similar to this, but then you start to get some other little choppiness and action going on. Just whenever you see this, a lot of times it's referred to as a tweezer and a sharp reversal. But oftentimes I will completely ignore that if it doesn't move right away. And I will actually, you may actually hear me consider that a negative x plus x equals 0. So what I mean by that is basically that doesn't exist anymore. Once it makes that pattern, these two candles do not exist. They are completely eliminated. It sounds a little bit strange, I'm sure, but they just don't count. And the reason that happens is because oftentimes it's either a lack of orders, a lack of liquidity, a lack of interest. It's the complete opposite of what it's intended to look like it's about to do. So this is one thing to keep in mind. If you see this on the 1 minute chart, do not panic. It is negative x plus x equals 0. And this is kind of the reason why your stop gets tapped and then it knocks you out and goes right where you want it to anyway. Like, say, for example, you wanted to go long on the break here, you had your stop here. Well, uh, you wouldn't have gotten tapped there, but let's say you were starting to see the volatility. You kind of jumped in here when it, like, say the price goes up a little bit here, you had your stop under here, boom, you get that. Both of those wicks disappear. So you got stopped out for nothing. Price came out, went up anyway. So you still could have gotten a few pips out of that. So that's kind of the idea behind the way I'm doing the strategy. So now that we've talked about a couple of little aspects, there's like a liquidity structure run, got a consolidation at the top. There's also that price setup that I was showing you. There's another example of it. So you would do the closes, and notice price wicked into it and then went down. So typically if price returns, oftentimes it will wick this little area right here at the very bottom. Grab your order and go down. So oftentimes using this setup right here, you can get some very, very tight close entries with almost zero drawdown, and price just instantly goes in your favor and carries right on. So I'm going to try to hit a few of those entries, but I'm not really too concerned about uh, the stop getting hit, and I'm seeing rejection, so I'm going to go ahead and sell. Notice our stop is way off of there, and I didn't really jump into the 1 minute, but I'm going to go ahead and take that because I'm seeing what's happening with the price action. Notice we've got everything kind of drawn out there. There's our 5 minute look and our 15. I'll get it a little bit closer. So now we know where we are in price, and despite being up here, being very close, see, we're looking at right here. This is all we're seeing. But look at how much movement we're getting in price outside of our window. So just think of when you're on the 1 minute chart, just think of that like being inside your house. Think of the 5 minute like being out in your little neighborhood, in your subdivision, in your apartment complex, wherever you're living at. The 15 minute would be kind of like, what's down the street, around the block, so on and so forth. When you get into your hourly, that's kind of what's going on in your city. And then hour 4 daily, in your country. And then once you get out to daily, weekly, monthly, we're into world, solar system, universe. So that's kind of one way to think of, uh, to actually think of where price is in the overall general picture. And you kind of have to know where you've come from to know where you're going. So definitely just keep that in mind and try to remember that as you're going through. Now, on the setup of this widget, since looks like we've got a pretty good downstroke on the tick chart, price is moving quickly in our favor. We'll go ahead and go over the setup here. The stop loss, this also is done in points. That's set to 40 pips, just like we had worked out over here in our calculator. It does stay on top. You'll have to hit new shortcut to set it up. and set up your orders however you want to set it. And then if you don't put anything here and create it, a lot of it will go to the current chart if you don't have a name for it, but it does have different aliases that you can use. So GU for GBP, USD, UJ, so on and so forth. Mine is EU. And then for general settings, always on top and show orders. And this is what we're going to use to close our order. That's the X right here. And we can close that at any time. So take a look back at what we've got going on. And we did have our size set as well at 18. That's what we also worked out. I'll let that run just a second longer. Yep, everything is all matching up. We're good to go. And 72 cents commission. So that is right there, checked out. So math is correct there. And we're still coming down in the overall, looking at the 5. And notice when we mark that out on the higher time frame, that was that setup that we were looking at. That usually tends to be very strong and reliable setup. And then, of course, we drill it in further. We may end up getting a tap back. Let's see if we can get about a 0.5% profit real quick. I'm watching that level. We did crack through this one, though. So let's see what happens here. Still below. We did hit that 20. I think we're going to head down into this level of interest here now. So we've already taken out the first one. Still got an open running trade. And notice we do have our stop loss. So no worries there. Everything is still in order. And see what happens here. We've also got another little setup there, but I think we're going to go pretty strong and stay on the downside. We've got that huge liquidity grab, so I think we're coming down there. Now we do have that setup. Now one thing I want to point out though is you do not want to trust any setup on the minute one. It will oftentimes cause you to close way too early. There is no sense in closing right now. We've got a very strong push of momentum. We're kind of breaking through that level. So let's see if we get the rest of the push. We've only been in the trade now for 12 minutes, so not very far away. Looking at the tick chart, we've got our head and shoulders starting to form. RSI is kind of peaking up. One thing I will kind of look at, I'll go ahead and point out, is notice how we have that downtrend off the RSI. We'll go to the most common points. If we have a break of that, I will close the position, but I think we're about to start punching down. So let's see what we've got going on. Still got that setup. Still got another setup. I'll go ahead and point array to the bottom of it. So we are good to go. We've got that whole group of price action here. I would kind of consider that to be the price action range that I'm looking at for it to be our setup area. I kind of took the breakout. We'll see if it comes back or if it's gonna break on the upside. I think this might be a false touch. It may also come back to do it early. It may have just been a little too early on coming out. We've got our trend line though, and we are moving quite a bit. So we'll see some changes here. We did get 11 pips out of that though. Let's see where it ends up. Now, I'm not going to be compounding positions or anything like that. I don't want to get out of control. Probably use that area right there. See what's happening. Yep, starting to get some choppiness. It shows some activity. Getting some strong buys, but that could also just be a lack of orders. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Just because price is really taking off does not mean that it's going to keep going or there's a strong presence of buys. I've got the volume down below. It's not really doing anything abnormal just yet. We're still just before the London session, so we're kind of early. The main reason I kind of will go an hour prior sometimes is especially like if I get freed up early. There is usually a lot of liquidity starting to enter the market. Usually that's when trades following a rule of like a T+2 rule or T+1 rule for like stocks and things like that. They're going to basically that's when those checks clear. If you're familiar with clearinghouse rules, they usually take 1 to 2 business days to clear. US is a T+2. So basically whatever's coming into the market is prior 2 days prior from before. So that's why you kind of see these moves prior to the open. You've also got pre-market activity. You've got traders waking up in different time frames, like in UK and so on and so forth, and they're looking to go ahead and set their trades in motion before the market opens, and just call their position for the day. Especially these daily and 4-hour time frame traders may typically take entries because you'll see the open sessions and around the open sessions tend to be turning points in the market. So something else to keep in mind. I'm going to bump this back just a little bit. Alright, we've got news. I'm going to have to make sure I keep an eye out for that. I'm going to set up the line about 5 minutes ahead of time so that way I close out, stop. I'm going to let the news run. I may even speed through it, but I don't think anything is coming up just yet. If there's anything you want to see, any ideas you have, any questions or anything you want to have tested or just curious about my opinion on, feel free to ask below and I'll get to it. We're just going to keep an eye on this. I may have to speed it forward a little bit just to keep things going. I don't know if I'm really even concerned with that timer. I can't import an indicator unless I convert it into a DLL file. It is one of the downsides to not knowing C#. So I'm going to have to learn how to code a DLL, but that is one way you can do it, is hit start when your clock timer is actually on the starting point. So I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm still going to leave that right now. So we still have that curve off the top. Looking at the level, got a little bit of a pattern. We still got the upside going. Still don't have a lot of volume. I think that's going to push down because we have our trend line. That is pretty much a common, let me see if I can get a more common one, because we may have to watch out for this in a minute. I'm going to delete this. Clean the chart up a little bit. Let's see if we drop back below on the RSI. Get a little bit more gain out. We're seeing some wicks. So sellers are pushing down. About to have a close of the minute. A little bit of a swoop to bring price up. I think it's going to sell off from this level here, because we noticed we got that close. It's already kind of gotten near it. So I think we might be good to go. Right now it's just a matter of waiting. And as I kind of went over a few minutes ago, we're mainly just looking at the most previous. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I think we're probably going to pull back somewhere in this little area here. So we've got 45 pips to go to get to that area. So that could be a pretty good gain on the account. We do need 25 to make the minimum profit target for the day. That is a 0.5%, half percent gain for that account as a minimum profitable day. So if we're looking at that, we have to, if we're having like a choppy or a slow day, or our price is just not moving much while we're available to trade, or we don't have much time to trade, we just have to keep that number in mind to hope that we can reach that in the time for it to count. On this challenge, you do have to get at least 3 days of profitable trading at that 0.5%. So that is something we'll have to keep in mind. It was a little faster than I remember. Alright, we're starting to show a little bit of rejection, a little bit of choppiness, a little change in the candles. See if we get a strong push off now. Should see that RSI start to turn back down. Did break the 20. It is a lot of common thinking that is oversold, 80 is overbought, but that is not true at all. That just means in relation to the last 14 candles, this amount of selling has been really strong. But then we have that snapback and continuation in the other way. So right now we have a little bit, if you look, we have a little bit of a trend line break. Some people may go by based on the highs. That would be considered something divergent. We still have this little area to concern ourselves with. If price goes above here, we still have this little area that could work in our favor. Let's see, we've got a little bit of news coming up. Don't want to get too close to that. Zoom it back out a little bit. There we go. We're getting our projection now. Getting some large ticks pushing through. Can't really rely on the tick idea too much while back testing. Just keep that in mind. These are randomly generated between the open, high, low, close of the candle. That's just one thing that would be way too much data to keep on standby. Now, let's take a look here. A little note of discretion. We have basically our collection of price action. And we have that strong push for the sell side. And then we have a slow, kind of choppy retreat. It's kind of lining up with that level. It's tapped in a little bit. We've got the trend line, and it's also come in at that trend line. So that gives us a good entry signal, good setup there. That would be basically setup number 2 that you can use. Trend lines do tend to work fairly well, and as long as you're going with something that I would consider like an open, let me move that back a little bit, get some more of this line. I notice that using a common angle off the top will generally work the best, because one thing I noticed with the 1 minute chart, if you have something where it's a common reach like that, that tends to be a strong indication that there's going to be people watching that line. They will make a very, very tight trend line off of these wicks, off of these top closes, especially when you have 4 or 5 of them bunched together. And a lot of times, like what you're seeing here, it just rejects straight down off of it very strongly. So we could see this move take out the rest of it, and we'll see what it's going to do there. We're also starting to get a short-term break, so we had that breakout go across the close, common line. Let's go ahead and use that. So now we have a strong push across that. So you can use your technical analysis all the way down to the 1 minute chart. That does tend to work fairly well. Just remember, it is very short term. These are very weak movements. Right now, we're not near the close of the hour. We're only 33 minutes in. We had that 30-minute candle, which doesn't seem to be watched too often. But we do have to keep a strong eye out on that hourly. One thing to keep in mind and expect is that you're going to have a lot of volatility around the hourly close and the 4 hour close. I don't tend to pay too much attention to the 4 hour close. I kind of wrap it into the same boat as the 1 hour close, but very often traders are taught over and over and over again to always enter and wait for a close of the candle and then take the entry. So what you're going to have happen oftentimes is traders who have traded for quite a while will wait for a candle to make sure it's not going to be a doji, make sure it is engulfing and it's not going to snap back, so on and so forth. I may have missed that one, but we'll see if that stays the line. Looks like it might be kind of sticking with that too. That's another thing you can do. If you have a common lineup like that, you can take it to the extreme and oftentimes it'll line up. Once it fully breaks that, it is confirmed a complete breakdown. We might actually have a pattern showing up or a channel showing up. If that is the case, then I will probably close it out. I'm also starting to make a little bit of a triangle here. We'll see what happens. We still got this major level here. So looking off of the 15-minute pattern, that tends to be reliable. We've also got a little bit of rejection off of that area. So we'll see what we're getting to. Can hedge in this account as well. I don't think I really want to though, because that could make a mess. So that is one thing to keep in mind, because then that would get me caught up in a hard situation. So you want to always make sure that you're making single position entries. You don't want to enter multiple times, because that will tend to get you in trouble, especially with compounding into the pip value. You can see how much our account's changing just by little small moves is making a little doji. So we've got 810. Let's run that across the top. I don't know if we're going to get out of this or this is going to wind up being another setup. We may even be making a topside flag. See how well this holds up. Okay, so I'm going to wait just a little bit longer. See if we get some type of retreat. I imagine we probably will. Still not outside of that range there. This could end up being a fake out of the channel that is made. Or it could be just complete invalidation. But I'm going to see if this setup holds up. To at least end up driving it back down to this little area right down here, where we've got about 45 pips of potential gain. So let's get back in and see what's happening with the price. Getting some more rejections. Could be a breakout of that channel. going to take that off and we will do a buy. Change the direction, change the bias. I think it's probably about to push through that. The main reason I'm thinking that is we've got this little channel. The way I made that is you have these two lows, just copy that to the highest point that starts. Notice price started to line up, pushed above it. Now we have a slowdown of momentum. Delete that for a minute. Notice how we're having that slowdown of momentum. We've got a tight push up of price here. It's starting to ride the top of that line. And right now we are only down 1476. So we're okay. Plenty fine. Probably should have. Nope, we have that little group there. I think at a minimum we're probably going to push back to here. And then we may be taking short off of that one. So we've still got 20 minutes to go until the open of the London. We get started a little bit early today. See what we've got going right there. Yes, we are starting to get some rejections. But we have two flag patterns upwards. I believe we're probably going to break up topside. Very possible it may not be my time to be trading. But we've only went down just a little bit. We're not too bad off. Still got that strong uptrend on the 5. Doesn't look like it's ready to be exhausted just yet. So we're probably right. Have that little area of support and resistance. It's going to be support. We got a little bit of a triangle pattern, so it does look like, seeing after the fact, we had the fake out, come back, and then a strong push out. So that should definitely be continuing. See how far we go. I would think at least to the top of this wick, if not directly above it. And then it will wind up. Let's see, I think we're a little bit off. 28, yeah, I'm a little bit off. That's okay. I have to get a time converter to make sure I've got it right. We do have engulfing. So short term, that's also trying to push into the level. Got a lot of delays coming down from that strong push. I would imagine if nothing else, it may end up trying to retest off of the top there. The world's changing minute to minute. The market's changing minute to minute. So there's always opportunity, always something to look at, especially if you're taking a closer look at the market to really see what's happening. Did have a good entry there. I probably should have taken that out. We had a little bit of an area there to line up, and now it looks like it's going right back into the channel. See what we're going to do. Could just be a stop grab for the fake out. And then we'll get the true push in just a moment. You can always move the trend lines around too to look at things. Oftentimes they will line up with certain different ways. So there we go with that one setup that we've got going on. There's 2 channels to watch for an hour reach. And then if we kind of look at this, we have the little breakout. Let's see if we mark this off and end up with a channel. See what happens. Does look like we've got some buying pressure coming into the market now. So I would think this is probably going to break this high. Still got that going on, but still have a little bit going here. Just floating around this bottom. Now I would think if it breaks through this little area, then more than likely we are going to be looking to short. So I may have gotten the top of the move, but gotten in just way too early. Something I can tend to do quite a bit sometimes. But it's not the end of the world. It just shows that I'm human and not a robot. Be nice to be a robot sometimes. Always should have left it. Still think I probably am right about this one. Alright. Not much action going on today. Sort of choppy in the time that I picked, but I didn't look ahead, so I have no idea what's coming. Just like the real market, I'm not gonna know. Just like I'm doing in, gonna be doing in the regular challenge, I am not gonna know. I'm gonna have live price action, kind of whatever they give me, and because I'm still using that 40 pip stop and controlling the risk, it's going to be well within the grounds of the challenge, because you are required to have a stop on every single order that you place within 3 minutes, I believe it is. So that is well qualified. When I go into the MT4, I usually will use the depth of market window and set that up. I know they have liquidity provider information. I'm going to do that anyway, even though I said not to. Trying to catch a little bit of that back. Let's see where we go from here. Got a 15-minute candle about to close. Got some other going on. Yeah, we're going to end up making a channel up, I believe. Overall, long-term prices moving fairly slow. A little bit lower volume. Not much happening, Captain. Let that run a little bit longer. and it's not significantly increased in risk. We do just want to make sure that I'm going to go ahead and take that now. So take that off, get that little scrape in right there. So now we're still looking at only being about $10 down right now in the current situation. Not sure if it's going to continue going up or not. I don't want to tempt it too much. So far looking at a 50% hit rate, but may have a little bit lower hit rate if this does not come up. But I think we're getting ready to come up now. But basically what just happened with that small trade there, oftentimes that's all you're trying to do is just capitalize on 5, 10, 15 pips. If you can catch one that runs away, you really just want to let that go. If market is really proving you wrong, then you more than likely will want to close that and just try to catch a pullback. I was hoping I could get a few more situations like what I practiced with. It was a much faster day that I ended up catching. It was a pre-news day even. Did quite well on that. I can even probably load that challenge up at the end of the video. I'll load that account up at the end of the video, but the stats are not going to be quite right because it was a lot of different things done in the pursuit of trying to find something that would work. And we'll try not to make the video too super long. I may even see what happens with this trade, pause it out, and then skip to the next day and do just a little bit more. We'll see how things go from there. Still got that upward motion of the market. I may have been correct the first time. See what happens right here. Not very reliable, but it may help us out. So see, if we would have taken that setup there and tried to place a stop, we would have lost there. If we had a stop basically over this range here, we could have been stopped out. If we went above this range, like the strategy was set up to be, we could have been stopped out. So there's so many different ways we could have been stopped out and lost. But right now, we're not too bad off. We're only at 497. We're only 25 down, but it should pop back up. That is also the top of that triangle pattern that we had right here. So let's see if that is a successful retest of the breakout of the triangle. I did end up buying that a little bit too high. I bought the top. Okay, so I'm gonna shut that one down. And the market has definitely proven me wrong there. So let's go the other way and see if we can take that back. Go back with our original target idea. See if we can make some sort of a gain. So we're not too bad off right now. We're 49.71, 49.72.46 when we last closed the last trade. We're only at a 0.5% down at the moment, so not too bad off. Still plenty of distance to go. I think we're going to let that ride for a minute. We're going to be good on this one here. Clean some of this up. And will it be our day or not? See, I could have waited for that setup. I got a little impatient. So you're going to have to really know yourself in order to go and do this strategy. Try to use some of this as a trading style. Just one thing to keep in mind, be very careful with your stop sizes. Make sure that you do have that safety net in place. Like I say, even though you're not seeing it on this chart because we're super zoomed in, it's right here. So in case price really rips up, it should not move 40 pips all at once, but it's there just in case a zombie apocalypse happens or the internet goes down. Any number of reasons why we may not be able to close it like we want to. That is the emergency safety net. So we're still looking at a downtrend. We'll go for something like that. Let's see. Choose that as the general idea. Take it from the top. Go from the most common closes. And see what we get. It is good practice to wait on a pullback. Notice the setup kind of worked there. It wicked a little bit past that close, but still did work. It's got engulfing off the top. We have a push up, a doji, and then engulfing. So maybe that will work to our favor. Sometimes it just takes being patient. We'll see what we get though. Maybe getting ready to push out. Delete that. What about this one? Where's that one? I'm not sure where that one is. Our little fake out. So now what we're looking at is we do have a strong selling presence off the top still, like I was suspecting in the beginning. Didn't quite push up into the full range. We have that marked out here in the yellow. Might not be right about this one as well, but we still have this overall downward look. Didn't channel for very long. It did break down from that channel. Don't think we're gonna be successful with that push off of this setup. So we'll see where we go. Will we get the right price or not? I think I may have to just stop here. We'll see. It'll give us some. May have to stop it and go to a better day, but we'll give it just a little bit longer. Starting to get a little bit of a breakdown. Starting to get the momentum. I can see the momentum starting to come in. We're going there, and now we're starting to push out. So I think we're finally going to start to see this thing come down. There we go. So we're going to start leaving back out of this range. We're going to fake out to the bottom. fake out to the top, sorry, and then comes back down. Now we're going to leave this level, maybe. I'll delete this one here, try to clean the chart up a little bit. Yep, definitely picked a slow day. Apologies for that. Let's see if we're going to get the final push though here. There we go. Now we're moving hopefully in the right direction. I'm not going to put a lot of merit into that. I think that was just a fake out buy trap. And we're going to see another push similar to this to bring us down into this level here. Let's see if that happens. So we just had a close of the hour. So now we're going to see a little bit more volatility coming in. I believe this should be the no, we're a little out of sync. So I'll try to time it up a little bit better in the next video. Let's see where we're going to end up being. Right now we had a max drawdown at 39.42. Didn't get a profit yet. Should have taken that other one, but I'm pretty sure it's going to go lower. So right now, 27.54. So we're going to have to get the 27.54 plus a little bit more. And I think we're getting a flag type pattern now. See if we can take this a little bit faster. Got the breakdown, selling pressure in the market. I think we may have caught the move. Sometimes it just takes a bit of patience. Just because it looks like it may be going, or if something I used to say all the time before is just because it looks like the trade is invalid doesn't quite mean the idea isn't still invalid. So if you would have gone short here with a stop just above, then you may have gotten knocked out here, but now look, your trade is still going in the correct direction. So we're going to let this run a little bit longer and see where it comes to. I still think we're going to reach this area down here. Hang on just a little bit longer. Get a little bit of a relief pullback. Got our level down here. Let's go ahead and update the lines. So that's our little group of price action. Our little setup that we were looking at. We have that concept here. Again, that x plus negative x equals 0. So I wouldn't even look at that and take that into consideration. I wouldn't make that into a level or anything like that. I would just completely ignore that. It doesn't exist. So we'll look at that little support area and probably even just consider it right off of that close And the wicks kind of played with it a little bit, but I'll consider that a valid area. So right now we've got a setup in our favor. So pretty comfortable holding this right now at the moment. And yeah, I realize now we can see the price down here. But that's okay, I'm hardly even looking. And say we are only trading what we see, and I see this curve. We know we had the level that we had marked out from previous. We had a strong wick there, some more wicking off the top, and we're starting to get that curve. We've also got the overall curve of the market, so I think we might be in for a pretty good trade. Just going to keep holding. And eventually we should roll down. Notice we got 2 stop losses up there for both positions. Take one of the other positions at a smaller price. Maybe if we potentially get 1 to 25, I'll take it off to cover the loss and let the other trade finish. So we don't want to risk it any more than we really need to. The idea is to keep that percentage balance, the return factor. The main idea is to keep that above the minimum amount. Right, so I get a little bit of an attempt at a retest. Got a new level right there from the wick. Bring that into consideration at this point because we do have a little bit of a respect right there now as well. So it should potentially be a good level. Now it looks like it's going to go back to here to where we originally had it. Or it may just not be our day. There it is. So that means I can get rid of that. So I'll take care of that in the next video too. Did not realize that was on there either. First time using that little tool. Set it up for one time before and never used it. It was left in the background because I minimized it. So I'm kind of figuring it out now as we're making the video too. So see if it's going to use that setup. Now we got a little bit of news coming up too, so I will have to close out fairly soon. $15.56. Got a couple minutes left. And get it before the news comes. few more minutes. Yes, apologies. I will hope for a faster day for the next test. For the next day's test. I'm going to test this all the way through and I'm going to try to pass this basically in video format, step for step. I'm going to keep the challenge going, and each time I start up to trade some more, I will start recording and upload that video, and basically that'll be a get started right now kind of video, and we'll just jump right into some trading. And I'll try to make sure the time is set up a little bit better and go from there. Normally I'm up for about an hour and a half, 2 hours before I go to sleep. Notice it's already about 3:09 a.m. and that's about the time I really start wearing down and looking for sleep. And I think I'm gonna let that happen here in just a few more moments after this trade kind of gets a little closer to this blue line. See if I can gain back some of the losses that we've already incurred, but we're really not in bad shape at all. So I was trying to channel up again. I'm pretty sure we are correct though. European Union, HPI, S&P, CS. So we've got the pattern here, double top looking. It's a micro pattern. Didn't really use, I kind of used that level a little bit. It's bouncing off of the bottom of there. So maybe we'll get a little bit more in our favor. A little bit of a breakdown. Still have that downward momentum in the market as well from that original read. There we go. A little pre-news activity. Hang on just a little bit more. Got a strong downward momentum. There's that curve again in the market. We take that low. That would be ideal situation. Starting to break towards the bottom a little bit from this little slowdown, so we're still in good shape. Let's checking out the 15. Let's take a look at the 5s. A little bit finer detail. We did finally break that strong push of a downtrend. Imagine it probably will be a little bit slow. close out part of it. Take the biggest part. That brings back some of our drawdown. We're only at $18 down now at this point. Just didn't quite get a good day to trade on, a good time frame. It was very choppy. Did have that one good push that we caught right at the open, but I didn't close it. I thought it was going to go ahead and go. Now we're really getting some movement. A little bit more comfortable with the risk. I don't want to be too big, especially for too long. Being close to news, it may rip, and that would be a painful day, so we don't want to do that. Just want to recover little bits and pieces if we are sure that we can do that. Leave it open a little bit longer. Take it right there. Okay, so we only lost about a tenth of a percent. Not in bad shape. About to hit that news marker, so I put it about 5 minutes away from the news because I do not want to get in trouble. I've done that once, hard lesson learned, so I will take care of practicing not doing that again because that will be a costly error going for the next challenge. I think I'm going to wrap up this video here before it gets much longer. We've got a good hour and 15 minutes of trading. Didn't really make much progress that time. So that is the first session of testing. I'm going to wrap it up here and save the project. So we will pull it back up. And once I come back to work on it some more, probably missed the move, but we've got some heavy news events coming up. I don't know if don't look to be low priority. Yeah, they're low priority, low impact. Got some medium impact news coming up, so maybe something to look forward to in the New York session of the day. But that's going to be a wrap, and I will pick out a little bit further time in the future where it's going to be a better time frame, either mid London session or in the New York session. Really, it doesn't have to be the open. It just has to be an area of the day where we have some volume, because whenever you're scalping, you have to have volume. That's all there is to it. So that would be my mark for there. We're gonna be too close. So stop it there. Save it, and we're good to go. I'll catch you on the next video.